Good morning. When it comes to the mitzvah of believing in God, what does that mean, practically speaking, on a day to day life? And how does the belief in God affect the simplest aspect of our life? So, first of all, what is the mitzvah of believing in God? There is the Zohar, and the Zohar says that you have to believe that God is the first of all existences. There's a rabbi by the name of Rav Chazdai Karkash. What she explains that really you can't say that there's a mitzvah to believe in God, because the whole concept of a mitzvah is a commandment. Can we conceive a commandment without somebody commanding? So if you're going to say that you have to believe in God, it means that somebody's commanding you on this. And therefore, the fact that God exists and you have to believe in His existence, it's not a mitzvah. It's the source of all the mitzvot. It's a fact. The Tzemach Tzedek in the mitzvah Amanat Elokut is going to explain to us that really there are two dimensions here. There's the dimension of knowing God, and there's the dimension of believing in God. It is explained that what is God? God is shlemut hametziut. What do you have to believe in? It's not that God exists. That's obvious. It's how you look at God. God is the most complete of all existences. He is the beginning, the first of all existences. He is what we call mehuyav hametziut. He is the absolute existence, while everything else is only but a possible existence. What does it mean He's the absolute existence and we are only a possible existence? It means that basically He has always existed, will always exist. And being that He depends on no one and we all depend, and everything that exists depends on Him, therefore He's an absolute existence. While us, we really depend on something else. So once you depend on God, or you depend on anything for your existence, right, which is God only, you understand that there's a possibility you might exist, a possibility you might not exist. And even the time you're going to exist, and so on and so forth. So already he says, what is the mitzvah of believing in God? Is believe that God is the first one. He is the absolute existence. He is the all-encompassing existence. And He's the most complete existence that exists. Says the Tzemach Tzedek, that cannot be a mitzvah of emunah, of faith, because even logically speaking, with one's intellect and psyche, he can grasp this. Everybody understands that they're temporary in this world. Everybody sees when you see a big globe, right? A big stone called planet Earth, and there's things growing, and there's animals moving, and there's human beings talking. Well, you know that there's a life, and this existence obviously continues to exist. The Rambam himself says that when you're going to see the sun, which by the way, the sun, the distance between the earth and the sun is 150 million kilometers, 93 million miles. And you see the sun's movement is continuous, has not changed for thousands of years. You understand with your mind, you know that there's a power that's giving it exist, and it's not that's bringing it into existence and giving it this power, right? And it's the most powerful power. So that cannot be called emunah, faith. As philosophers said, faith begins where the intellect stops, where the understanding of man stops. And therefore we must say that faith is something higher than that. So to hear that Tzemach Tzedek explains that there are two dimensions. There is Memale Kol Almin, the way God encloses himself into every possible existence, from the highest existence, the highest creation, to the lowest creation, and gives it vitality according to its capacity and its confined, limited being. With the vastitude of the universe, God brings it into life, and it could be the greatest thing. I just want to give you just a little, I believe that we should all study astronomy, just to get a little humbled by Hashem's creation. We know that there are 7 heavens, as it says in Masechet Chagigah. In the second heaven, you have the moon, and you have the moon, which is 400,000 kilometers, 233,000 miles from the earth. Then you have the moon, which is 150 million kilometers, 93 million miles. And then you have Saturn, which is the extremity of the second, of the second heaven. And that is 4.2 million light years. And this is only the second heaven. There are 7 of those. And we have absolutely no idea. There's the observable universe, and then the non-observable universe. We're talking about, for those who study this, trillions of light years. And they say that the universe is always expanding. But that's still within the confinement of creation, of limitation. That is something that, even though I don't see, I can still understand the vastitude and the great, how vast the universe is. It's beyond grasp. But that I know that God created, because only a God could create. Only God could create such a creation. The belief in God is that even the highest possible creation, which is even the spiritual creation, Chokhmah of Atzilut, which is the beginning of all creation, and the lowest possible, most confined creation, for God it's all equal, it's all the same thing. Because God created time and space. Therefore God is above time and space, which have been created. When we say above, it's above the concept of time and space. God. And God is Sovev Kol Almin. It's that level of revelation of God which is above the grasp of man. It's the mahut, the more the essence, the depth of Hashem. That is something we can't grasp. That you have to believe in. That's what belief is. So on one hand, we have a mitzvah of yediyah, to know that God is bringing the world into life every moment, every second. And not to forget, because we are human and we're dealing with the world all day long. And when we deal with the world all day long, we can get caught up and forget, God forbid, about God. We have mitzvah to know, not to forget. And that is through the study of Chassidut. We understand how God brings vitality to the world and how He does it, etc., etc. But then the belief is that however great and high is the highest spiritual being, it's a creation of God, and God is completely above that, above any type of grasp, human grasp. Because the problem is, it's not we with our little confined intellect, which speaks in human logical terms. confined. We can't understand outside of these parameters. God is completely at another level altogether. He's Sovev Kol Almin. Right? For him, the highest spiritual level and the lowest physical level are all the same thing. So you're going to say to me, but how does that apply to our lives? Well, how it applies to our life is that the more you're going to realize how great God is, at that moment, you realize who you're attached to. You realize that you're attached to such a mighty God, and He chose you as His nation. And He chose this earth to make His Shekhinah, His presence, reside. And you're walking, you're thinking, you're doing, you're speaking in a completely different way. So I'd just like to give something, I don't know how related it is to this, but you have individuals that work in day trading or trading, whatever, so they have many screens, and all day long they look at the screens. And people have make investments, and you'll see that a person is going to be affected by what it says on the screen. Today I had 1,000,000. Yesterday I had 2, so I'm depressed today. Today I have 3, so I'm very excited and very happy today, right? But tangibly speaking, it's not like he's going to go and he's able to count these dollars, be able to see it. It's what's on the screen. Think about it for a second. A person is affected by what's on the screen, telling him how much money he has in his bank account. If I tell you that you have God, which is infinite, the infinite source of everything, of vitality, of wealth, and He is the most complete and the highest and the above completely the limitations of the world, and you're attached to Him. What does it say on your screen all the time? You're immensely wealthy. That's why the Rebbe says, when a person is going to realize that really he has all the resources at the reach of his hand, but the only way to be able to access these resources is by rejoicing in the fact that he knows that he has them. And that comes through thinking a little about the greatness of Hashem and who we're attached to.